What is going on, everybody? Thank you for tuning in. And you know what this is. This is JC from JC Sports Talk, and welcome to another special episode. It's so special because I have a special guest in the house, Mr. Ed himself, beat writer for Philadelphia Eagles. But I'm not going to mess up his intro. So please, sir, please introduce yourself and just tell us a little bit about you and what are you working on?
Yeah, sure, JC. Thanks for having me. Ed Kracz, SI Eagles Today, Fan Nation. If you want to know about myself, I'm not real good about talking about myself, but I've been covering the Eagles for 12 years. This is my 12th year, so a dozen years on just strictly the Eagles beat. But I've covered a lot of stuff. I was always in newspapers, and now I'm kind of with the internet. .com, as they say. But yeah, I've covered, the Phillies World Series in 2008 and covered the Flyers when they made their run in 2010 and lost to the Blackhawks in the final. And, I was in New York when the Phillies lost the World Series, and I think it was 2009 when they got beat in Game 6. And, I've covered pretty many events. I used to cover baseball. I covered the Pittsburgh Pirates when I was in Pittsburgh, and that was back when Barry Bonds was just breaking in and Bobby Bonilla, and they had a great team. I mean, went to the playoffs with Bonds and Bonilla and Andy Van Slyke, and these are old time names from 1990, 91. But I've done that. I've done the baseball thing, so I've been at it a long time, JC. Probably 35 years in this business, and like I said, 12th year. On the Eagles beat. I covered West Virginia University's football and basketball team back in the in the early 90s, early to mid 90s. So I'm old and I've been around.
But you are an OG though, you know what I mean? So hey, the lines to tread, the lines to not tread. We was talking about earlier, how you separate, professional from personal, because you are a fan of some of these teams that you write about. Sure. I mean, how hard is that to separate those two?
Well, I mean, initially it probably would be hard, but, I went away. I was in Pittsburgh and I was in West Virginia. So, I was kind of removed from the Philadelphia sports scene. So I came back and, was able to kind of look at it with more of a critical eye. But you're right. I was a fan. I grew up in the Philadelphia area. I was a big fan of the Philadelphia Flyers in the early 70s. Went to a lot of Sixers games and Phillies games with my father. And, so, yeah, I rooted for them. And, truth be told, I can still go sit in a stadium, and take off my sports writer's hat, and I can still root for those teams. I don't boo. I don't like to boo.
Do you make any noise at all? Or just like this?
I cheer. And I'll be like, but my dad tried to teach me how to boo. He taught me pretty well. I did do a lot of booing, back in the day. But I don't boo anymore. I try to support. Listen, when you talk to these guys every day, when you talk to pro athletes and even college athletes, when I covered West Virginia, it's like, you got to keep sight of the fact that, okay, yeah, they're getting paid a lot of money, but they're people too, and they've been given this gift, this ability to play their sport at a very high level. But that doesn't make them any more human than you or me or anybody else. And I try to keep that in mind when I write about them, and try to remember that. And especially when I'm sitting there as a fan, and I'm like, man, you get disappointed, and you get bummed out, and you get frustrated that they're not performing. But again, it's not like 99.9% of these guys are trying to do the best they can. Yeah. Now, every now and then, like a Nnamdi Asomugha comes along.
or a Byron Maxwell. I'm like, what?
And I like Byron. At least Byron admitted in the locker room that, hey, the Eagles are the one that paid me the most money. That's why he came here,
Yeah, that's the worst thing to say. What I mean? Like to a Philadelphia or a Philly media period. Like it shows that you just came in for the money.
Yeah, but that's honesty, because let's face it, a lot of these guys, that's what they do. They take the most money given to them. And again, I don't belie any of these athletes taking the money and making the most they can, because there's such a small window for them as athletes to make that money. Like the NFL or the span of an NFL football player, like 5-6 years. I mean, that's a very small window in your life. You get 30 years old and people are calling you old. So you have a short window to make as much money as you can. So, man, do it. Go for it.
Yeah. Hey, look, I agree with everything that you just said. Nnamdi Asomugha, Byron Maxwell. After those two contracts, I was like, stop getting free agents. Like, y'all wasting your time. Stop.
Yeah, Yeah, you got to give an honest effort. Listen, I say that, okay, make as much as you can, but then when you get the money, then you got to give the honest effort. You just can't mail it in and go through the motions and hope you don't get hurt. So,
yeah, facts. You know what I mean? So shout out to everybody that is watching right now. Please, please, please hit that like button, the subscribe button, and go follow like one of the realest Eagle beat writer reporter for almost 12 years now. And just let them know where they could find you at on Twitter.
Yeah, you can hit me at Kracz, Kracze. I post all my links, and then my site that I operate with Sports Illustrated is you can find that at si.com/NFL/Eagles. And I have a colleague who writes for me, John McMullen. He's awesome, does a great job writing stories. We do a lot of video and a lot of articles, and we try to have 3, 4, 5 stories every day, and as much video as we can too. So most of the time, you can just hit Twitter, and again, it's at Kracz, Kracze, and you can find the links there.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So before we go into the questions, I was at the open practice last night. Okay. You was there because I follow you on Twitter, and I was like, "Oh my God, he was there! I should have met him," but I didn't. But so your honest opinion, what did you see last night? Pros and cons. Overall, there's no specific player. So what did you see last night? Pros and cons to that you would like to let the Eagle fans know about? Like, I mean, was it offense, defense, offensive line? I mean, like, what stood out last night?
Well, I think for the first time all of camp, and last night, Sunday night, would have been the 8th training camp practice that we've seen. There was a lot of running. There were a lot of RPOs. We saw Hurst taking off, which I was surprised about. Mm-hmm. We hadn't seen that at all. And so it was a good night, I thought, from the offense. I thought they really looked good. And, I thought Reed Sinnett, the third string quarterback, I thought he really moved the ball pretty well. It's interesting. I know Gardner Minshew, people like Gardner Minshew, but, Reed Sinnett, like if they needed, Minshew could be a guy they trade, but I thought Reed Sinnett looked really good. I mean, and he's gotten better as practice is going on. And we talked to Brian Johnson, the quarterback coach. I think it was on Friday or Saturday. Mm-hmm. It was Saturday, and he was saying, Reed looks really good, really comfortable, that he's really in the playbook. He's learning. His mechanics are good. And I think Sunday night we saw some of what Brian Johnson was telling us. So I was impressed with that. As much running as we saw Jalen Hurts do, he threw that nice ball to A.J. Brown down the right sideline with Bradbury close by and Marcus Epps, flying over from the safety spot. And that was a nice ball. And A.J. Brown made a really nice catch and got in the end zone. So, you hope to see that 9 times, 10 times this year with A.J. Brown scoring that many touchdowns.
30.
Yeah. I mean, you hope Hurts throws it 30, I don't know, because he has the ability, of course, to run the ball in from however far he has to take it in. But so I was impressed with the running of Hurts. He made a move, JC, remember, on Brandon Graham. It was
the Saints move, the same exact thing from the Saints. Exactly. I was there both times.
Yeah, he made that cut, and all Graham could do, Graham's applauding him as he's walking up the field like, dude, you got me, man, you got me, but I'm not going to let it happen again. But so that's what Jalen gives you there and it was kind of good to see him do a little of that last night. But as far as bad, JJ Arcega-Whiteside made a nice catch deep down the field. I think it was Reed Sinnett that threw the ball, but he had a couple, he had a drop, So, this offense, the defense, don't get me wrong, the defense, I think, is really good. They made, of course, a lot of their offseason additions were on that side of the ball. You draft Jordan Davis, who had that clip of bull rushing Cam Jurgens.
Yeah, viral, by the way. Over 2 million this morning at 6 a.m. Over 2 million views. So, it might be at 5 million right now, but I don't know.
Yeah, it probably is, man. That was like 12 hours ago when that thing was popping 2 million. So, he's a handful. But, they made all those changes on defense, and they're really – the offense and defense are really making each other better. I would say, they're really challenging one another because nobody wants to get beat. And if you're the offense, you want to beat that defense. So, I thought it was I thought it was a really entertaining open practice, to be honest with you. I know that, there's, I think, 30,000 fans. The Eagles said they raised over 350,000 for their Eagles Autism Foundation, which is tremendous. EJ Brown tweeted about it like, "Hey, Philly, are you serious? 30,000 fans for an open practice in August?" I mean, but listen, people love their Eagles, and they're excited about this team, I think. And I think they got a little glimpse of it last night at the link at the open practice. Now, that was kind of like the appetizer, JC. Now we're going to start ramping up the main course. We got the Jets coming in on Friday.
Okay.
They go to Cleveland for the 2 practices and then play the Browns in Cleveland the week after. And then they go to Miami to practice with them. Okay. It's a shame fans can't be there for those, because those practices are really, really intense. And the Eagles take the approach where that's going to be kind of their preseason game. They won't play, I don't think, their starters in any of these games. I don't think we'll see Hurts
at all.
I'd be surprised. I mean, maybe they give him a series against the Jets, but I would be really surprised if he played. They'll just keep wraps on him. Devonta Smith probably won't play. I don't think you'll see A.J. Brown. Now I could be wrong, but they like these joint practices. That's where you see a lot of this stuff, and it's a controlled environment. These joint practices. Like, if you want to run 10 red zone plays as an offense or a defense, you go ahead and do it. Just talk to the other coach and say, they script their practices, and they're saying, okay, we're going to give our offense 10 red zone snaps. You may not get that in the game. You may not get any red zone snaps, or 1 or 2. So now you have a script of 10 plays that you're running offensively and defensively in the red zone that you wouldn't get in a game. So, and it's intense. These practices get intense. They had the Patriots here last year, and then they went to the Jets for a joint practice. It's a shame there's no home joint practices, because it's fun to watch.
Yeah. You know what? I really think that the Dolphins have one of the top 5 defense from last year. So that's going to be a really great joint practice. And the Jets is always, even preseason game or whatever, it seems like that we own the Jets. But, new season, new year.
The only team in a regular season game, I think they're 10-0 against the Jets in their history, the Eagles.
Exactly. Maybe they need to stop playing them every 4th preseason every year, right? Like, that's always their last, preseason. The Jets. I'm like, come on, change it. But it is what it is. But we're about to get into some serious conversations because, like I told you earlier, I really want to hear your honest opinion. You're there. We're not. When I mean we're not, the fans not there. Only the media is there. How is Jalen Hurst looking at camp? Because last year, he was quick to throw the ball, inaccurate. He always looking right. People saying, well, he can't throw left. So all those things. So how is Jalen Hurst looking at camp? We saw what we saw last night at open practice, but you see it every day. So how is he looking at camp?
Yeah, I'm not sure he looks any different than he did last year. He still struggles going to his left. We saw him throw, I think he's thrown 4 interceptions in 8 practices. And one of them was rolling to his left and just making a really bad decision. And even Nick Sirianni said afterward that, that was a bad decision by Hurts. So, running to his left, he still seems to struggle. And, you better figure that out, because defenses are going to overplay the side you like to go to, your right side. So they're going to try to force you left. So that's a concern I have. And another concern is just his accuracy. I'm not sure he's ever going to be that accurate passer that they hope he can be. He completed 61% of his throws last year. It'd be nice to see that number higher. At least 65%. But can he do it? I mean, they seem, JC, in the practices we've seen, they seem to be working on a lot of the shorter stuff. We don't see them take too many deep shots yet. We've seen it once or twice in 7-on-7s. But, they seem to be trying to get it into Jalen's head. Like, look, go through your progressions, keep it short, throw it over the middle to A.J. Brown, throw it down the seam to Dallas Goedert, swing it out to Kenny Gainwell or Miles Sanders in the flat. But I think they want him to get rid of the ball quicker. Because to me, I would like to see him run the ball less. I'm not sure that they're interested in that, because
me too.
Yeah. Obviously, it's a weapon, though, right? The legs are a weapon. But, once you run a lot like that in the NFL, I mean, these guys are going to hurt you. And we saw him miss a game last year because he hurt his ankle against the Giants. And then he still wasn't right for the final month of the season. And then after the season, he had ankle surgery. I mean, that's how bad that injury was. And he played through it. So again, you don't want to rein him in too much, but I think you need to have him run less just to keep him healthy for 17 games. And that's a concern that I have. But listen, I will say that he's made some nice throws in camp. I think his chemistry with A.J. Brown is developing still. I mean, you could say, hey, they're best friends, and why aren't they on the same page? But they're still working on the chemistry between them. And I think that'll come. Maybe in October it'll come because they're not practicing a whole lot, and you wonder how it's going to look in terms of wins and losses. But but I think Hurts. I want to see him do well because I know the team loves him. His teammates love him. They have his back. Nick Sirianni shows up on the first day of camp practice
with the shirt on. Yeah, right.
AJ Brown's like, man, that was lit. Looking at the coach and seeing him wearing your brand. Wearing Hurts. So. The team's got his back. They want to see him do well. But I just wonder about his accuracy, and I wonder about, the health with him running maybe a little too much. I think he needs to get the ball out quick. If that first read's not there, look to your second read. They have the offensive line to give him time. It's a very good offensive line. Don't be in a rush to get out of that pocket so quick. Stay in there and try to go through the progressions as you can. And hopefully, this is his second year in coming back to the same offense. Yeah. Hasn't had that since high school when his dad was his coach. So maybe that will help him to kind of click things along faster, go through the reads in his head and where he's going to go with the ball a little bit quicker.
So let me ask you a question before we move on. Does A.J. Brown line up on the right side a lot or the left side? Because we've been hearing Hurst to A.J., like nobody else really. Once in a while, you get a little, a sprinkle of Quez Watkins and Goddard, but it's always Hurst to A.J. just based on what we are reading.
Yeah, they line A.J. up all over the formation. They put him in motion. They motion him into the slot. But, yeah, it's been a lot of targets for A.J. Brown, and Devonta Smith hasn't practiced the last 3 days with a groin injury. So, we asked Nick about that, and he would obviously be a high target guy in practice if he were practicing. And then they're trying to get Quez more involved too, trying to work him a little bit. So we'll see this week if they do that. We see it every now and then in camp. They'll take a deep shot or they'll throw short to him on an out pattern, but they want to get Quez more involved, but it's tough. I mean, Sirianni will tell you that this offense last year ran through 6 and 88, Devonta and Dallas. And this year he's trying to add that third piece. It's going to run through 6, 88, and what's AJ's number? 11.
11.
So, yeah.
It's 11, 11, 11, then low 6, and then, 88. But
right. That's the way it is now. And listen, I mean, if it continues like that, he's going to get like 200 targets this year. He's going to catch he's going to go over 2,000 yards receiving. But, I just think it's, just some chemistry building, trying to get Hurts and Brown on the same page. And let's face it, Brown, they're paying him $100 million. He's going to be here for 4 seasons. So, let's start working him in. Let's start getting him the ball. And, they're not going to not throw to him. They're going to throw him the football. Absolutely. And they're going to throw it to Devonta, and they're going to throw it to Dallas. So that's what they're working on. And Sirianni made no bones about it. That's what they're doing. That's what they want to do. And it's up to the other team to stop it.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I said, I mean, if I'm Jalen Hurts, we've been hearing all this Hurst to Brown. I mean, you do have Devonta Smith, one of the best route runners in the league. Yeah. Sideline king, toe tap king, I call him. Yeah. Like he's always toe tapping somewhere on the sideline. And then Dallas Goddard. Yes, he has a few drops last night, which is concerning. Just coming from last year, he was dropping some balls too. So Dallas Goedert, to me, he got to show that he can make those tough catches, and I just don't know. But we'll see. We will see. So the wide receiver competition. I mean, how many is going to be on the roster, on the 53-man roster, and like right now, before this is week 2 of training camp. So who do you see making this team at the wide receiver position?
Well, I think there's a good chance they could keep 6 guys.
Yeah.
Depending again on how they do on special teams. If they can perform on special teams. And Britton Covey can do special teams, right? That's what he's.
Yes.
He's a punt returner, and you saw him last night, right? He was first man up on the special team drills as a punt returner. We're going to see a lot of him in the preseason, Britton Covey. We're going to see what he can do, and if the Eagles don't keep him and he does well, but they don't keep him because they only keep 5,
he's gone.
He's probably gone. You're not going to stash him on the practice squad, I don't think. But again, we'll see how it plays out. Right now, he looks pretty good, and he's got me thinking, okay, 6 receivers, because Jalen Reagor's kind of the log jam at that position, right? I mean, listen, I like Jalen. I think he's got a skill set that, plays in this league. He just doesn't have the confidence. He probably needs to be a little bit more serious when he works. He tends to get a little sloppy and maybe a little lazy in his route running. Even when the ball's not coming to him, he has to at least make it look like, the ball's coming to me, try to keep the defenses honest. And sometimes he doesn't do that. So, are they going to try to trade him? They're not going to cut him. I don't think they're going to cut him, but they could try to trade him. You look around the league, okay, where might he fit? Like the Denver Broncos had that season-ending injury to Tim Patrick. Could they possibly be interested in Jalen Reagor, and Howie would trade him, but he's not going to just give him away. He's going to look for something that, he's going to hold his price, because we've already seen it in camp. Greg Ward's hurt. Devonta Smith's been hurt. Zach Pascal had food poisoning. I mean, you need some depth at that position, and Reagor provides it. So right now, to answer your question, I see 6 receivers. You got your 4 with, AJ, Devonta, Quez, Pascal, and Reagor, if he's still here. And then I think Britton Covey could make a really strong bid over the rest of this summer to be that 6th guy.
Yeah. I see AJ, Smith, Watkins. Those 3 to me are locked. Pascal, why would you bring a guy in and then just cut him immediately, especially when he is Nick Sirianni, he's familiar with his, offense. Covey to me is a special team. Our special team is lacking. So I feel like with him, our special teams will be better, punt return, kickoff return, if he is. And Reagor, Howie Roseman is not going to cut Reagor. I've been telling people this whole time. He's not going to come. If he can't trade him, Reagor will be on his team. So now the outs, you have Greg Ward and Devin Allen, Kane, not Kane, but
Greg Ward and Devin Allen. I like Deon Kane of that second tier group. I like Deon Kane a lot. Again, we'll see how he does in these preseason games, but but I do like him. I think he's had a pretty good camp, but it's just such a numbers crunch.
It is
position, and you make a good point with Pascal. Like that week set him back. He lost 16 pounds with that food poisoning. So it's tough to gain weight when it's 90 degrees outside every day and you're practicing in it. So he's trying to get it back, but his body isn't quite there yet. So who knows? He could be a surprise cut. If you're looking at guys that, hey, who are they going to cut that's a surprise? Maybe Pascal's the guy. I'm not saying it.
Yeah.
I hear what you're saying, that, he's a Sirianni guy. Would they cut him? Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. All right. So, hey, love it. Miles Sanders future in Philly. I'm a Miles Sanders guy. Come on, Booby, run. So talk to me about Miles Sanders. Do you see him, in Philadelphia beyond this year? He is, this is his contract season. Usually Howie, he signed a guy off season or, a few weeks into the season. So far, are you hearing anything about him getting extended? Do you see Miles Sanders and Philly past this season?
What you should have been saying there is, come on, Booby, catch the ball, Booby. Because that's really kind of his limitation in this offense is, the consistency in catching the ball, which is really weird because we saw his rookie year, he did 500 yards. He he caught the ball well. He didn't do it a lot at Penn State. But now, was it a fluke? I mean, this is year 4, and, we've seen him struggle. So maybe it was a fluke. Maybe he's just not that consistent of a pass catcher. And in this offense, Nick Sirianni likes his backs to catch the football. And, he believes Kenny Gainwell is better at catching the football than Miles Sanders. So I think Sanders, his future is very cloudy, if I had to say right now, JC. I think it's extremely cloudy. Last year when the Eagles opened the season, we saw them give contract extensions right before they went to Atlanta to Jordan Mailata. That got one the week after. So, you think, well, could Sanders be in that mix? I really don't think so. I think they want to have him play it out, see how he does. They have some time to extend them. They like to give guys new deals in November as well.
Yeah.
So, that gives him kind of this 2-month period where if he can, he didn't have any touchdowns last year. That's
is that his fault though? Like, I mean, because it seemed like the play calling changed when they got inside the red zone a little bit.
Hurst did a lot of that running, no doubt. But they did try to give him the ball inside the 10 or down at the 5. They tried to get him that touchdown. I mean, on second down, third down, they're giving it to him, at the 4 or 5 yard line sometimes. And it's like you can just tell they're trying to get him off the schneid and get him in the end zone, and he couldn't do it. But listen, I like Miles Sanders a lot. I think he's a home run hitter. I'd like to see him catch. The very first practice, the very first day, they throw him the ball and he bobbles it. And there was nobody around him, but he's bobbling the ball, and then he does secure it. But by that time, the defense has already converged on him. It's a 4-yard gain where if he catches it cleanly, it might be a first down. But, he bobbled it, and that gives the defense time to converge on him. So I don't think he's going to be given an extension going to Detroit week 1 like we saw the Eagles do with Mailata last year going to Atlanta week 1. But it's something to monitor as the season goes on. If he's doing well, if he's catching the ball, if he's pass blocking well, and he's the bell cow, then maybe he'll be extended. But to me, I honestly think this is his last year in Philadelphia. The ball is in his court. Let's say that. Yeah. I'll say it's a cloudy future. But if you pin me down, I would say last year in Philly.
Yeah, that's a perfect answer. I mean, a non-biased one, realistic. I mean, you out there, so thank you for that answer. I'm a big Miles Sanders fan. I get offended when people say get rid of Miles. I'm like, come on. Yeah. This dude is so young. He's averaging 5.5 yards a carry. I mean, this dude is that guy. But, people like, hey, he tried to bounce out a lot. But we had that with Shady, too. We always trying to have these guys – that try to bounce out and try to get the home run instead of trying to go straight up the middle, under follow the blocks. But, man, I'm an Eagle fan first.
There. Let's take what's there. Let's hit that hole, drive those legs, get that 2-3 yards when it's there, and then maybe you hit the big one, on your 5th or 6th carry, But take what's there. Don't try to, get crazy and bounce outside. And those linebackers are fast, man. They're going to run you down.
Yeah, like I saw last night. I mean, at the open practice, he was just going straight up the middle. Like he was just getting as much as he can. I don't know if it's like that in practice or just for the fans or whatever. But last night, I like what I saw.
That's a good point. In practice, he's doing that same thing. Like he is trying to make that attempt to hit that hole. And you hope that it translates into a game. Hopefully that muscle memory in practice where he's doing that converts to a game. But again, I'm not sure how much we're going to see him. Now, the Eagles only have 5 running backs on the roster, which is a pretty low number to me. And now Boston Scott's got a concussion. So now you're down to 4. And you want to keep these guys fresh. So, there could be a couple carries for Miles against the Jets on Friday night. But I think you're going to see a lot of Jason Huntley, who, JC, man, remember that 60-yard run he had last night?
Yeah.
He showed a burst there, man. He went off the edge and he was gone. And Josh Jobe, who I like a lot as an undrafted free agent, by the way, the cornerback from Alabama.
Yeah, Alabama.
He's got some speed, man. He ran Huntley down and prevented that play from going for a touchdown. But Huntley's got some quicks. But I think you're going to see a lot of Huntley. I think you're going to see a lot of Kennedy Brooks, the undrafted free agent, against the Jets because, they want to keep Miles fresh and they want to keep Kenny Gainwell fresh. You don't want to burn these guys out in, the middle of August in a meaningless game. So, but keep an eye on that Jason Huntley. Like I have the Eagles only keeping 3 running backs at this point, Scott, Sanders, and Gainwell, because I probably have them keeping 6 receivers.
Yeah. You got to balance it out somewhere.
You got to balance it out, and you know, but I like Huntley a lot. I mean, he's been here a couple of years now. The Lions drafted him, I think, in the 6th round or 5th round back in 2019 or so, and you keep an eye on him. I mean, you know, he looked pretty good last night. He's looked pretty good in practice. I mean, he's doing all right, but I just don't think he'll make. I just think it's a numbers thing, and he might not make it. But you know, he's somebody that you'll see a lot of in the preseason.
So my last question before we move on: do you see Jordan Howard coming back to the Eagles? It's like every year. Is Jordan? Welcome back, Jordan. Welcome back. You know, Richard Rodgers, him and Jordan Howard. Like, I don't know how many times they've been cut, let go, and they always seem to find their way back to the Eagles. Do you see that happening?
No, I mean, I think it would have happened by now. I mean, because like I said, they only have 5 guys. They brought in that Jaquan Hardy from the Cowboys when they cut him, and they didn't sign Hardy. But, you know, I'm surprised they haven't added a 6th running back at this point, to be honest. But I would think if it's going to be Howard, they would have done it already. And Howard had a tryout, I think, with the Saints. I don't think they signed him. But he had a tryout recently with New Orleans, and I don't think they signed him. But I don't think he's coming back, JC. I like Jordan Howard too. I thought he was exactly what this offense needed, was that between the tackles hammer. The guy has a nose for the goal line. He has 30+ touchdowns in his career rushing. I mean, you just were confident giving him the ball inside the 5-yard line and letting him just plow right into that line and push that pile until he crosses the goal line. But I don't see him back on the team. Sorry. Okay. I hope you don't have a Jordan Howard jersey.
No, I don't. No, not yet. yeah, not yet. So Leaf Dunn does. I think he's talking about Sanders. Does he read the blocks right on these goal line carries? So that's why he lost a lot of touches last year inside the goal line. So why do you think they just switch packages once he gets inside the goal line? Because I've seen a lot of tape. This dude rushed 150 yards against the Washington football team, no touchdowns. Like, he's rushing, he's our bell cow, but no touchdown because he just get yanked once he get inside the goal line.
Yeah, I think, again, you have to have that muscle memory of staying between the tackles. And I see Leaf saying here, Howard will definitely be back. Yeah, you might be right, Leaf. I don't know. I just don't see it at this point. But I would love to see it. Like I said, I do like Jordan Howard. But I like his skill set. But but I just think Sanders, when he gets down there, he does kind of maybe freelance a little bit too much, and he does try to kind of pop things outside. He's a little bit slow to cut it back inside. That would be my take on it. They gave him a lot of opportunities to try to find that end zone and just didn't take advantage of them last year. It's weird.
Okay, so how do you see this linebacker core shaping out? I mean, TJ Edwards, to me, that's the one name we've been hearing this whole training camp. TJ Edwards, our best run stuffing linebacker from last year. How do you see this linebacker core shaping out, and what is going on with Nakobe Dean? I haven't heard of a little buzz around him. I've not heard anything.
TJ's looked pretty good in the passing game too. He's made some pass breakups. I remember in an early practice in camp, Brown caught the ball kind of on a quick over-the-middle pass, and TJ ripped it right out of his hands. And that's not easy to do. Brown's a big, strong guy, but TJ just popped that ball right out. I think Edwards has looked real good, and he's going to be tough to unseat. Been here for, several years now. He knows what to expect. He knows how to play linebacker in the NFL. He's built his body up to the point where he can play, 3 downs now. And Nakobe, the Eagles were shocked that he was still there in the 3rd round. And if you look at the moves they made, I mean, they addressed their linebackers in free agency. They signed Hassan Reddick, great signing. They signed Kaiser White, who I like an awful lot. So they signed those 2 guys, and it's like, okay, we're good now. And then all of a sudden, Nakobe Dean, they thought about taking him in the 2nd round, and they said, no, we'll take Cam Jurgens instead. And they had no expectation that Nakobe would be sitting there in the 3rd round. But when he is, it's like, hey, man, I know we got the linebackers that we added in free agency, but he's too good to pass up in the 3rd round. This is value. Yes. So they jumped on him, and now – TJ Edwards talks about it when he came in as an undrafted free agent. He says, I was 9th on the depth chart. He's an undrafted guy. So, yeah, he's got to work his way up. But Nakobe, nothing's handed to him either. He's getting some second team reps, and I think he'll be fine. But he's got some guys that he's going to have to leapfrog here. And again, they like Davion Taylor. Davion Taylor, I think, had a pretty nice camp. So, he's probably behind those 3 guys, White, Reddick, and Nakobe, Davion Taylor, right now. Now, listen, things change quickly in the NFL. His opportunity could come quicker than I think. But right now, it's going to be hard for him to find any real playing time, I think. Now, again, that could change. But right now, I like what Davion Taylor's done. He's had a hard time staying healthy. I really like Sean Bradley coming back in his 3rd season. I think Sean Bradley has looked really good in practice. He was really good on special teams. Obviously, I think he was a Pro Bowl alternate last year. But he's he's really upped his game, I think, and he could be a factor on defense. So they're to me, like I said, this is my 12th year covering the team. I think this is the deepest the linebacker group has been time here. I mean, when they won the Super Bowl, they had Jordan Hicks, who got hurt, but they had Nigel Bradham, who was phenomenal. I mean, Nigel Bradham doesn't get a lot of credit. I know he had some off-the-field troubles, but, man, he was a cool dude to talk to in the locker room, too. I love talking to Nigel. He had some issues, but, man, he played hurt, and he was good. But they didn't have the depth. I mean, they had Michael Kendricks on that team as well, but they didn't have the depth, I don't think.
Agreed. Yeah.
But this year they've got 7, 8 guys that I think can play and be effective with the playing time. It's just a matter of, you can only play 3 guys, 4 guys, and Reddick's going to play. TJ's going to play. So, are Kaiser and Nakobe going to switch in and out? They might, but I think White's really good. I mean, he's led the Chargers in tackles last year. I think he had 140. Yeah. So, Nakobe's really going to – that's where if he's going to play, he's going to have to split some time with Kaiser White. And he might, but I'm not sure it's in the best interest of the Eagles to do that right out of the gate until we see what those linebackers are doing. And then maybe you work him in as the season goes on.
But do you see, as far as him playing, is it a scheme thing, a 3-4 versus a 4-3? No?
No, I don't think it is. I just think it's a depth thing. I just think it's the quality ahead of him. Again, the Eagles built that linebacker room, not even thinking they're taking Nakobe Dean. Now, maybe they're thinking we'll take Kyron Johnson, who they took out of Kansas, who needs to build his body up a little bit. But he's got tons of speed, Kyron Johnson. But, he
is.
Yeah, I mean, he's a fast guy. I just think the Eagles had built their linebacker room not expecting Dean to be there. They weren't going to draft somebody that early. And he's sitting there. It's like, what? We got to take him. I mean, he's there. He's the value guy. Let's grab him. So they weren't expecting him to be there. So I don't think it's a scheme situation at all. I think he's got enough instinct and enough speed to be able to blitz and come off the edge and put pressure on a quarterback if that's what they want him to do. But it's just the quality that's ahead of him that's the issue.
Okay, so love it. So a few more questions, and then I'm going to get you out of here. So, all right, so what player stocks are up and entering? I know we talk about TJ Edwards, but, I mean, to me, in my opinion, he wasn't never in danger of not making the team, because he was our best run linebacker last year with Singleton being gone. So, I mean, he had the advantage. So what other player stock do you see on the rise?
Listen, I like Marlon Tuipulotu. He was a 6th-round pick last year, and I think he was pretty hurt all year. He struggled with a foot or an ankle. He wasn't really healthy coming out of USC, but, he's done some nice things. I think he could be maybe kind of like a backup nose tackle to Jordan Davis. I think they could rotate Marlon in there, and he could give him some good snaps. He didn't have a good season last year, but the Eagles liked him enough to keep him on the 53-man roster. He was inactive most of the time. I think he got in 5 games, didn't play a whole lot in those 5 games, but I think he's looked a lot better in his second year, and I think he's healthy. I think that was a problem. We haven't had a chance to talk to Marlon yet. I would love to talk to him, but Javon Hargrave was asked about him, and he said, man, he's really improved. So Marlon Tui Pulotu is somebody, and maybe I'm not pronouncing that right.
Hey, better than me, so you're good.
Marlon T. I just call him Marlon T or Mr. T. But yeah, so he he's kind of stood out to me, I think, a little bit in camp, but obviously Britton Covey has. Marcus Epps to me has looked pretty good too. I think he's pretty comfortable. Marcus Epps' body is just like, he's like Mr. Muscle now. I mean, he's really layered it up. Nice. He owns a gym out there in California now. And
wow.
He's probably like got a cot set up in the back room, and he wakes up, he lifts, takes a nap, he lifts, he eats, he lifts. Because he's really gotten strong, and I think he's risen to the challenge of what the Eagles want him to be, which is one of the starting safeties on this team. And so I think he's looked pretty good. And I think Andre Cheshire, the other safety,
I heard about him too.
Has made some plays, and he's a good special teams guy. So he's going to be tough to cut him. And then it comes down to how many safeties do you want to keep? Jaquaski Tart has kind of been slow to pick things up. I know he just got signed in the middle of June, so it's an evolution. He was 7 years with the 49ers, new team, new city, new teammates, new playbook, a lot of new stuff for him to adjust to. So I'm kind of giving him a pass. But Anthony Harris is probably going to be a keeper. Reed Blankenship, an undrafted free agent.
Kevon Wallace?
Well, see, now if you're going to ask me, guys that are down.
Oh, okay, all right. We'll get to that. Go ahead, continue. My bad.
Cheshire, Epps, Davion Taylor, I think has looked good. Marlon T's looked good. I'm trying to think on offense. I have Britton Covey, but who knows what is going to happen to him. But offensively, I haven't really seen too many standouts. Listen, I think Isaac Siamalu looks good transitioning to right guard next to Lane. I think that Cam Jurgens has looked pretty good. Very athletic. I think the Eagles are in good hands when Jason Kelsey finally calls it a career. This kid's athletic. He can get to the second level quickly, and he's very good at anchoring. I've seen him. Him and Jordan Davis have gone up against each other so many times, and I know we saw it last night, and Jordan got the best of him with the bull rush. But I've seen also in practices where Cam has stood him up. So I mean, that is an entertaining. One of the most entertaining parts of camp for me is watching these receivers, Brown and Smith's been out, but Quez and some others going against Slay and Bradbury. Bradbury's look really good because you got two good receivers and two really good cornerbacks, and those matchups have been fun to watch. I love watching them. And then I love watching Cam against Jordan, man. That's a fun. I love the one-on-one stuff, and I think Cam and Jordan go back and forth, winning their reps. And last night, everybody made the big viral video, and Cam's probably pissed off right now that happened. And he's going to get back at it tomorrow, and it's going to be fun to see. But those are my guys probably that would stand out as kind of camp climber types.
All right, so before we move on to the next question, Stigmata, I have a question. Do you think A.J. Brown will help Hurst read the field much better since the opposing defense will now have a three-headed monster?
Yeah, that's a good question. I could see that being helpful. Sure. Listen, my concern with that would be you don't want him to lock on Brown too much and too soon and try to force something because it's A.J. Brown and I have to get him the ball. So you hope that if he looks his way and there's nothing there, then he looks another way and maybe Smitty's open or Quez deep or Gainwell or Sanders in the flat. You hope that he doesn't see Brown covered and try to force it, or see Brown covered and say, "Oh crap, I got to take off, man. I got to run." Feeling pressure, and that would be my concern. But yeah, I would hope that AJ would help him be able to see the field a little better. But the flip side is just like I said, you hope it doesn't become kind of a force issue, or he's covered, I got to take off. You want him to look around the field a little bit more, and he should have the time because that line's pretty good.
Yeah, and that's what I saw last night. A lot of running. I'm like, all right, we know you could run. I didn't come here to see you run. I came here to see you pass to AJ, to Goddard, to other wide receivers, But maybe last night was just a vanilla, just like the basic. Like you said, you didn't see them run RPO like that whole training camp. All of a sudden now he's taking off and running. Maybe that was the game plan. I'm not sure, but maybe.
Well, listen. It was an open practice, so who's to say there weren't Giant scouts there or
exactly
scouts there or whoever? so, I'm sure the Eagles send scouts to whenever there's an open practice in New York,
Yes.
Dallas, that's an opportunity to go see what they're doing. So, yeah, you're not going to open it up. I was a little surprised you saw the deep throw to Brown like you did, and that was a treat to see that. But, I mean,
wow.
I don't think they wanted to show too much because I just about guarantee you that, those Giant scouts and NFC scouts they were paying their $10 and they were getting in for some free intel. So that's probably why you saw some of the running because that's what the Eagles did last year. So we're going to see the same thing from the Eagles this year. He's going to take off and run. So yeah, you got to take that into account.
All right. So what player is at risk of not making the team a surprise cut?
Well, K'Von Wallace, I think, again, a 4th-round pick from 2020. Whenever it seems like he gets going, he gets hurt.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think K'Von could be in trouble. I think that J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, 2nd-round pick from 2019, that might not surprise anybody, but he's got an uphill climb transitioning to
the tight end position.
Yeah. And I know they like him. I know they like his blocking ability and special teams ability, but I think, he's in jeopardy too. And then you always have to look at guys that are on 1-year deals that, when camp started, I thought maybe Kaiser White could be in trouble because of Nakobe Dean. But, man, Kaiser White's played really, really well. He's fast. He's quick. He can cover. So I don't think that anymore. But I thought, maybe, but not anymore. But 1-year contract guys are always guys that are like, okay, they could be cut. Some people thought Isaac Seumalo would get cut or traded. I don't see that now. I'm trying to think. Yeah, Rager, I don't think is going to get cut. But yeah, I would say White or Arcega-Whiteside and K'Von Wallace probably are the 2 biggest guys I could see not making this team. And they were draft picks. So, yeah, that would be.
How about Greg Ward? Because Greg Ward,
and Greg's been reliable, dependable, good friend of Jalen Hurts. I mean, he had like 7 catches last year, and 3 or 4 of them were for touchdowns. He's a steady guy, but again, the numbers game just doesn't seem to be in his favor. And now he's got this toe injury. He's missed 4 practices. But you know what you have in Greg Ward. He's steady. He's not flashy. He's a hard worker. He's a leader in that wide receiver room. At least he was last year. I think A.J. Brown's probably, he's now. But you're right. Greg Ward, I don't see a place for him either, and it's a shame. He's given him some good seasons and good guy.
Yeah, I mean, but hey, it's a numbers game, like you said.
It's a business, man. It's a business too. So as much as you like to keep the good guys and guys that mean something to you, and Howie sometimes does that. He kept guys that probably didn't deserve it. They had the soft spot for Jason Peters. So they have these soft spots for players, but I don't think Greg Ward's one of them. And you can't let that kind of cloud your thinking when it comes time to making decisions.
Yeah, so we have 4 quarterbacks on this team right now, right? So do you see Minshew possibly being traded before the season?
Yeah,
and Carson Strong backing up Hurst or Senate? Like, who's how do you see that working out?
No, I don't think Strong's got a chance. I think they might try to put him on the practice squad.
What?
You're going to see him play. He hasn't looked really good, but it's a lot, and they don't get many reps, these 4th-team guys. So it's tough for them to kind of stand out and to kind of get that repetition over and over again. So I think you're going to see him play quite a bit in the preseason. And same with Reed Sinnett. And listen, if they like what they see from Sinnett, and I thought he played well Sunday night, you never know with Minshew. But I think they like Minshew as a backup. Won the game in New York against the Jets. Not a hard thing. But listen, like I said earlier, if Hurts gets hurt, and it's hard when you're a running quarterback to stay healthy. Look at Lamar Jackson down in Baltimore. He didn't stay healthy last year. He runs all the time, and he missed like four or five.
Yeah, he did. Like the season was over basically once he got hurt.
So at least I think with Minshew, you have a shot to win games. If Hurts gets hurt and has to sit for multiple games, then I think they would keep Minshew. I don't think Minshew gets traded now.
Okay.
And I think
I've been hearing a lot of bad things about Minshew. It's just like
he's
throwing interception left and right to the second team.
He's a timing guy. It doesn't look like he has real arm strength to kind of zip that ball in. Like his balls kind of are lofted, and you have to have some separation or you have to have some timing between the quarterback and receiver to complete passes with him. And I think those timing type throws take a while to come together, in camp and stuff. So, they know what Minshew is. He doesn't have anything to prove. So I think they keep him.
So do you see him doing better with the starters? Like if he wasn't with the backups, the second team, basically.
Well, I mean, he throws to guys in, one-on-ones. He throws to first team guys in one-on-one drills and on air routes on air. And he hasn't gotten any team drills with first team. That's all been Hurts. But they mix the first team receivers in with him. Like Smith hasn't been out there, but they'll work Quez Watkins in with Minshew, and I think AJ Brown's had a couple reps with him in team drills. So Minshew's not running first team, but sometimes they'll sprinkle the receivers in to work with him.
Okay. So my last question for you of the night. And I think we have one bonus question, but I'm going to save this for last. So offensive line versus defensive line, iron sharpen iron. That is the motto that Nick Sirianni is trying to put out there. Some days I hear defensive line dominate offensive line, and some days I hear offensive line dominate the defensive line. How much trouble are other teams are in, especially the offensive line when they're going against this defensive line? And how do you see this, this offensive line versus defensive line shaping out? I mean, they're beating up on each other. I mean, could you really tell how good they are, or it's just like I got to see it in a game?
Yeah. Well, again, I'm not sure how much we're going to see these first team guys in the preseason games. Because we know what this offensive line is. I mean, they've been together for a while now. And these last few days, you've had Jordan Mailata out with a concussion. He's your starting left tackle. You've had Andre Dillard, the backup left tackle, out with a concussion. You have Raven Clark, your third-string tackle. And if you're at your third-string left tackle, you're in trouble.
Yes.
And this defensive front's pretty good, with Fletcher, who looks like, he's got this chip on his shoulder to prove that at 31 years old – and on a 1-year contract, his future depends on having a good season. So you're seeing a motivated Fletcher, I think, this year. Javon Hargrave is on the last year of his deal. He's a candidate that could get extended. Yeah. Detroit. He's a guy to keep an eye on because I think he's had a really good camp. But yeah, that offensive line, defensive line, again, you're a professional. You don't want to get beat. You don't want to get shown up. So those guys are working hard against each other. And like I said, I like watching Cam Jurgens and Jordan Davis in those one-on-one battles specifically, but I love watching all those one-on-one drills. Whenever they get together and they're in pads, I make my way over to that side of the field and really tune in to watch them because, I'm an old lineman myself. So I like, I know what those one-on-one battles are like. And they were fun to be a part of, and they're really, really fun to watch.
Good. Yeah, I love it. What I saw last night at times where the defensive line was making Hurts run. Like they was getting there so fast in the backfield that Hurts had to take off and run. And then there were some times that Hurts stood there because the offensive line stepped up this time. So it was like trading blows, 12 round, boxing match, offense versus defense. And last night was a great show for me that I saw. I'm like, wow, defense is dominating. Oh, wait, offense is dominating. Yeah. But it was great to see. I love the whole motto. Iron sharpen iron, even BG, Brandon Graham said that this has been his best defense has been on. You won a Super Bowl, with the top 5, top 10 defense, like in 2018, and this is the best defense you've been on. Whoa, buddy. I don't know. Yeah. So, do you think that this Eagle defense have the potential of being one of the best defense in years that we've seen?
Yeah, I think they have the personnel to do it, and now they just have to play up to it. And they have to, again, they brought in so many new parts, and you have Jonathan Gannon now playing these odd man fronts. playing 5-man fronts with the overhang players on the outside, Reddick and Sweat in a stand-up. Sometimes Graham is standing up on the outside. Sometimes Graham's inside at tackle, and Milton Williams flips outside. So, these are a lot of interchangeable parts on that defensive line. And, I think that if these guys can figure out how to play multiple positions up front, even Jordan Davis is trying to learn how to play away from the center.
Yeah.
And if you can get guys that can do that and be effective at it, and it's not as easy as it might sound, and it might take more than, a month or 2 months or a season to do, then, yeah, I think it can be a special defense.
Good. Bonus question. It's been a pleasure so far, and this is it right here for me. This is the bonus question. I have a question. What is your expectation for NFC East rival? Dallas, Giants, Washington football team. How do you see this NFC East shaping up? I know you are trying to keep your fandom intact and your professionalism intact, but just this is a freebie. Just let it out. Come on.
Well, I mean, listen, I think quarterback issues in New York and Washington kind of hinder those teams. I love Washington's defense.
Yeah.
They always spend draft picks on that side of the ball. And, Terry McLaurin's got the new contract now at receiver. But, we'll see about Carson Wentz. He's going to be 30 years old at the end of the season. I mean, that's shocking that he's going to be that old, to be honest.
Yeah, that was quick.
Yeah, it was quick. But, I think that, Daniel Jones in New York, I still don't think he's the answer. I like Brian Daboll as a coach, though. I think he'll have that franchise turned around. I thought Joe Shine, the new GM, had a good draft. It's tough to go wrong when you have 2 picks in the first 7. And Kayvon Thibodeau, I think, could be the rookie of the year. That guy, and reports out in New York are you can't block him.
Wow.
But on the flip side, Evan Neal, their other pick, the 7th overall pick, he's having a bit of an adjustment to the NFL. But, he's an Alabama guy. I'm sure he'll figure it out. So, I think the Giants are going to be okay. But, again, Daniel Jones kind of doesn't really make me think they're going to make any noise to win the NFC East. I think the Eagles and Cowboys are going to battle it out. I think that game on Christmas Eve in Dallas is going to go a long way to determining who wins this division. Eagles haven't had a whole lot of luck against Dallas the last few years, so they're going to win the division. They're going to have to find a way to beat the Cowboys, and the Cowboys had they lost some guys on that offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see how much time Dak has to throw the ball. They don't have Amari Cooper. I think Cooper had over 100 targets last year. They traded him to Cleveland. So, I love CeeDee Lamb. Would have been great if the Eagles would have figured out a way how to draft him because he's phenomenal. But, Michael Gallup, I think, he had the knee injury. I don't think he's going to be 100%. I think he's going to miss some time to start the season.
True.
So, they have some questions.
And James Washington just got hurt.
Who did?
James Washington. They brought him in from the Pittsburgh Steelers. Yeah, he's out. Like he tore his a knee injury, ACL. So he's out.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yes. I mean, there's some issues in Dallas. There's no doubt. And last year, I think they were the most penalized team in the league. So
it was.
And Mike McCarthy doesn't inspire a whole lot of confidence. I mean, he had Aaron Rodgers for a dozen years, and they won 1 Super Bowl.
Yeah.
You would have liked to have seen him do a little better, having Aaron, the best quarterback on the planet. You'd have liked to have seen McCarthy figure out a way to win, multiple Super Bowls, but didn't happen. So, as I have questions about all of those teams that the Eagles are going to compete against in the East. And, the Eagles have questions. What's Jalen Hurts going to look like in year 2 as a starter? So they all have questions. Who's going to answer them best? It's going to be a heck of a story from now till the end of December, early January now with 17 games. So
exactly. Yes, exactly. Thank you very much, man. This was a blast. I love the fact that you are an Eagles fan and a writer, but you know how to keep it, real separate. Thank you very much for taking the time out of your day to come on here. I know I said 30 minutes, when I reached out to you. But when you start talking about the birds, we can talk for hours. But thank you very much.
I talk a lot. I tend to. My wife says all the time, like, you talk too much. So.
Now, this is the perfect platform to do it.
Yeah,
you know, hey, you can talk a lot. People will tune in, tune out, tune in, but it is what it is. But I appreciate you very much. So
hey, man, my pleasure, JC.
So, yes, hey, if y'all watching, man, just shout out to the 20 that's in the chat, man. If y'all watching, please, I'm telling you, go follow him on Twitter. His Twitter handle is right there. That's why I followed him, because he kept it real. I'm like, you know what? I got to get him on. I got to hear his perspective on the Philadelphia Eagles. So that's how I found him on Twitter. So just go follow him. Give him a shout out, man. So thank you very much. And any last word before you go?
No, man, I got to go fire up the grill and start cooking some chicken now, man. I got to So, yeah, okay. That's my last word is I'm hungry.
All right, let's go.
Like the Eagles. Hopefully the Eagles are hungry, right?
That's what I'm talking about. Hungry birds. Let's go. With that being said, as always, go Birds.